Welcome back. You are watching Global Eye. We are discussing the political outcomes in Pakistan, the elections that have taken place and what it means for India-Pakistan relations. We're joined by Tilak Devasher, author and member of the National Security Advisory Board, somebody who is an authority on Pakistan and India ties. Also, Sharat Sabharwal, former Indian ambassador to Pakistan. Gentlemen, thank you once again for being with us. Ambassador Sabharwal, if I were to ask you about Imran Khan specifically, what does this election mean for him? Currently, the charges that he faces could make him face at least 10 years in jail.
Well, for the moment, he is in trouble. In spite of the vote in favor of his party's independent candidates or independents backed by his party. But for the moment, he remains in trouble. He'll remain incarcerated because the army will fix the result from here on to make sure that people sympathetic to him or loyal to him do not have a chance to come to power. But to write him off for all the times, would also not be correct. After all, Nawaz Sharif, if you recall, during the 2018 election, about the same had happened to him. He was incarcerated, he was convicted in 2 cases, disqualified from holding public office. Eventually, he went into exile. But then things changed and the army brought him back. To the extent that he was being presented as a favorite of the army candidate they would like to see as prime minister. So things could turn around for him, but in the short run, I don't see things improving.
In the short run, you don't see things improving for him. Mr. Devasher, when it comes to Nawaz Sharif, when it comes to Bilawal Bhutto, Imran Khan, who do you think would probably seek best relations with India? Now, this has been an issue over decades. We don't really have any bilateral relationship with Pakistan because of the slew of terror attacks that have taken place over the years and complete lack of action by Pakistan government against terrorists on their soil. Do you think any of these leaders would like to restore relations with India?
I don't think so that any of the political leadership in Pakistan has had an independent foreign policy. The army is always looking over their shoulder and the army dictates what exactly is the status and level of the relationship with India. Nawaz Sharif has this to his favor that as a businessman, he is keen to establish trade. He has in the past also, and he will try and do so now. But unless and until, you see, initially when he came back from London, he sounded very conciliatory about relationship with neighbors, especially India. But when you look at the PMLN manifesto, it's the same old chant, that unless India walks back on the changes on 5th August 2019, we cannot go ahead and end the relationship. So again, it shows the kind of pressures he is under. Now, where Bilawal is concerned, I think he's pretty immature and young. He has some time to go before he matures into a kind of a leader or a statesman. Imran Khan has been very vicious in his criticism of this government and the Prime Minister specifically. And especially after August 2019, he seems to have lost it as far as India is concerned. So I am not very hopeful that either of the three, the relationship with India would advance ahead, except if Nawaz Sharif is given a free hand, then at least in terms of trade and in diplomatic exchanges and restoring the high commissioners, things like that could move. Small steps could be taken to try and put back the relationship into some sort of a normality.
Right. Now, looking at the larger geopolitical environment under which this election is taking place in India's neighborhood, Ambassador Sabharwal, we see the Russia-China axis getting stronger. This is something that the West is very worried about. We're looking at a lot of tensions in the Middle East, complete uncertainty. In an environment like this, what are some of the international factors, international interference at play in this Pakistan elections? What should India watch out for?
Well, I wouldn't say any significant international interference is there in this election. Most of the things that have happened as a result of Pakistan's internal dynamics. You've seen the Americans, they have been talking of free and fair elections, that kind of noise they have made repeatedly. But we also know that the Biden administration is not very well disposed towards Imran Khan. He, after his ouster, he had spoken of a conspiracy by the Americans along with Bajwa, former army chief, to oust him from power. He tried to cozy up to Russia. Was with China, any Pakistani leader would try and maintain a close relationship with China. So they are not very well disposed towards him, and I don't think beyond making those noises, they would go strongly against any attempts to keep Imran Khan or people sympathetic to him out of power. That would largely be the approach of the other Western countries who would follow the American lead. Aside from making noises, you will have from here and there human rights organizations, democracy organizations, etc. But beyond that, nothing. What is important is that for Pakistan itself, what does it mean? It's become increasingly irrelevant, at least constructively, to the region. Nothing constructive to contribute to the region. A fraught relationship with India, relationship with the Afghan Taliban close to a very dangerous turn, had a clash with the Iranians, subdued for the time being, but things could blow up again. So in that sense, Pakistan needs to have a strong government, build political consensus to deal with all these problems, its internal problems and external issues. And this election, giving it to them.
Right. My final question to Mr. Devasher. Mr. Devasher, a lot has been said about China's indirect role in the crisis in the Middle East. What's happening in the Red Sea in terms of Houthi attacks on merchant vessels linked to Israel as well. An unstable Pakistan. Do you feel that China would like to leverage this situation to its advantage? Is there something in terms of security, the situation in Pakistan, that India needs to watch out for?
I think China would be as concerned about instability in Pakistan as anyone else. After all, they're the ones who've put about $22 billion investments in this China-Pakistan economic corridor. And as it is, they know that the investment is not very good because they're not getting anything in return. Pakistan's inability to pay. Still, they would not like to say instability because of their soft underbelly, which is Xinjiang, the problem they have with the Uyghurs. They would like stability in Pakistan. And sort of, as far as we are concerned, as I had mentioned earlier, I don't think so at this stage. With so many fronts open up for the Pakistan army, that they would try and do something. Of course, you can't forget that in the past, Pakistan has always sought to divert attention from domestic troubles by trying to meddle around with India. But I think today the situation is different. They've got too many fronts. The economic situation is really bad. So I don't see them doing that.
Right. It was a pleasure talking to both Mr. Tilak, Devasher and Ambassador Sabharwal about the election in Pakistan. Interesting times and interesting political battle to watch out there. But of course, instability in India's neighborhood is never good. We'll wait for the outcome and see what the larger picture is. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us on the program. With that, we come to the end of Global Eye. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.